This is episode 280 of the Super League pod. It's a week of contrasts with two great cup games to review and two, well, not so great ones. Some exciting re-signing news and some disappointing injury news. The opposite ends of Championship and League One recruitment styles. A boost for cup final venue, but a fear over no one getting to be there. Plus, we delve into a couple of historical anecdotes of the game we all love. Stick around too for an international flavoured end to the episode wrap-up. Get strapped in and accept our socially distanced fist bump. It's SLP time. Hello listeners, it is episode 280 of the Super League pod. This week you have myself, Mark, and I'm joined by Challenge Cup expert, Alan. You love a bit of cup action, don't you, Alan?
I love a bit of cup action. I mean, although if you'd looked at my tipping, I'm not sure about the expert this week, but yeah, no, I'm always up for the cup, as they say.
Good stuff. Well, we'll be talking mostly about the Challenge Cup on this week's show, but before we talk about that, do you want to tell people about our episode sponsor?
Yeah, so this episode is sponsored by Rob's Toy Shop. You can find a wide range of toys, gifts, rugby league, birthday cards and more at Rob's Toy Shop on eBay. Visit stores.ebay.co.uk/Rob's Toy Shop. And on any orders over £5, you can earn 5% cash back and 1% of your order value will go into the SLP coffers if you put SLP discount at checkout.
Good stuff, yep. And on the show this week, we're going to go through the news, which has our third weekly and final weekly, I think, instalment on the Simon Wolford soap opera. Then and plenty of other news as well from around the world of rugby league in the Northern Hemisphere. We then will have the Challenge Cup match reviews, where we'll be talking about the 4 quarter-finals. Some two very entertaining games and two slightly one-sided games to cover off. Then when we've got a slight twist to the norm in other results, we're going to talk about the Super League because we've got a round 7 catch-up game as well as the NRL round 19. Then we'll make our predictions for the next round of Super League. And at least this show we'll only be making predictions for one round of one competition, which is not going to be the case going forward, it feels like. I didn't get a chance to. Normally I try and put the quiz together during my lunch break, but I didn't get a chance to do that today. But I just figured out an idea for a quiz about half an hour or so before we started. So I've got a quiz that has an international rugby league flavour to it.
Lovely.
Yeah, so that's what we've got coming up on the show this week. I suppose we just should jump straight into the news because, like every other week recently, there's loads of bits to cover off.
Lots and lots. So we move to this week's news, and in perhaps not surprising to anybody, Simon Wolford has finally left his role as Huddersfield Giants head coach with immediate effect, bringing forward his exit from the end of this season. So the 45-year-old was previously due to leave when his contract expired, but he's now left immediately. The former Giants hooker Luke Robinson will take charge of first team affairs with Kim Williams as assistant and Andy Kelly as football manager. Tom Andrews, as always, got in touch and said, you could say it's an odd time to leave, but because they're shit, they're essentially playing pre-season friendlies. So the off-season is a perfect time to build for the future. And then he poses a question, Radford to Huddersfield.
Yeah, I mean, it's the third week in a row that we've talked about Simon Wolford going to leave the Huddersfield Giants, but this time he's actually left them. So in terms of his time at Huddersfield and stuff, we've probably already covered that in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty much.
Episodes. Yeah. If it hadn't been dragged out the way it was, it almost would have been a big enough story to do an SLP short on and try and get some Huddersfield fan reaction in. But yeah, I think everyone's just kind of fallen to the inevitability of it. What they've got in place at the moment, Luke Robinson, it never occurred to me Luke Robinson could be a head coach for Super League side, and I don't know why. I think it's probably because in my head, Luke Robinson is still that little nuggety 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid who made his debut for Wigan about 17, 18 years ago, and that's all he'll ever be in my head. So I struggle to think that this guy's like 40 and whatever he is, 35 to 40 years old now. And,
still tiny though.
Yeah, but he's got some experience around him with Kim Williams, obviously. I don't know if it's obvious to people actually. He was with West Wales, wasn't he, for a bit? And Andy Kelly, who has done great stuff at Huddersfield, kind of looking after the academy side of things. Him as kind of in that football manager role, that'll mean a lot of the stuff that Luke Robinson will have no experience of dealing with in terms of managing players and contracts and things like that. Maybe Andy Kelly can kind of be a bridge between Robinson and then the players and the non-playing staff at the club and the board and stuff. So that's helpful there for like the interim situation. But the question Tom posed, Radford to Huddersfield, he is the only real big name experienced Super League coach on the market, you'd think.
For now, depending on the Toronto situation, I guess. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, but at the same time, it also wouldn't surprise me based on what Huddersfield have been doing kind of transfer-wise and stuff, if they didn't run with kind of Robinson next year with kind of Kelly there as his kind of guide. That wouldn't surprise me in terms of, the way they've been cutting their cloth accordingly. He's probably quite a good value for money option, you'd say. Yeah,
and there's a few players around who will have a few of like the experienced leaders within the Giants squad who will have played with Luke Robinson, so we'll have a good relationship there from the coaching through to the leadership team. But you would think not enough of the squad played with him. Most of the squad's experience of him will be him being there as assistant coach sort of thing. So
yeah,
there'll be still a coach-player relationship, but there's a bridge with some of the experienced guys, which I guess helps with the relationship. The other options out there, people have talked about Sean Wayne. I don't see that being a goer, Huddersfield and Sean Wayne. It doesn't make any sense to me in my mind with the England coach there.
No, I can't see what he'd benefit from taking that job, to be frank.
No, exactly. Not right now anyway. Brian McDermott, if Toronto doesn't get any sort of agreement to be back in place next year, is an obvious name. Like I say, him and Radford will be the two on the market experienced coaches that will be actively looking for head coach roles. Another sort of little bit, probably not unexpected when you think about how these things go, but a little bit left field name was Brett Hodgson, who won the Man of Steel when he was at Huddersfield, didn't he, as a player, before he had a more silverware-laden time with Warrington.
Yeah.
He's been an assistant coach around now for a while, hasn't he? He did some decent things when he was assistant at Widnes, didn't he, with Dennis Betts back at that time as well. So that's a name as well for someone who might be looking for his sort of first head coaching gig, and it could be an option. But yeah, Luke Robinson has to be in the driver's seat for the reasons you explained.
Yeah, I mean, he's got much like last at FC, he's got a chance to audition, hasn't he? And if they can, kind of build on, results from last week, spoiler alert, then I don't see why they wouldn't go with him. Even if it's just on a relatively short-term basis, I think they might give him a shot.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to other news, Wigan Warriors have signed prop forward Brad Singleton from Toronto Wolfpack on a 3-year deal. The 27-year-old began his career at Leeds, playing 178 games, and was part of their 2015 treble winning side. He went on to join Toronto earlier this year, but has now joined Wigan with immediate effect after the Canadian team withdrew from the league. So Singleton's kind of comments were, it signed for Wigan for next year, was my understanding a while ago, but his comments were, he wanted to secure his future. Coming from Barrow, it's a place where there's quite a lot of Wigan fans who are fans of their local Cumbrian teams, but also fans of clubs like Wigan. from the sort of big the Super League, as it were, these more recent times. I know a lot of Cumbrian Wigan fans. So, that played a part, he said. And Wigan, with Tony Clubb's potentially significant injury, and other injuries as well in the forward pack, with Ben Flower either getting injured or suspended every week, and Sean O'Loughlin getting no younger, and George Burgess's hip getting no better.
Yeah,
it was a position that Wigan probably needed someone, definitely from next year, with some of the older guys stepping out, but it became a more immediate thing, and so Wigan have been able to bring him in. I think Wigan will need him over the next 2 weeks, so that's a good move.
When this initially it was a slightly surprising one, but then when you, as you said, you obviously know your team better. Then when you think about the number of players who were, there's question marks over, your older props. I mean, you've got a lot of young players, obviously, but your older, more established props, you've got a gap there probably. So yeah, it makes total sense.
It's kind of a player who's experienced but still in the middle of his career, which our forward pack doesn't have. We have age-wise Mitch Clark and Joe Bullock that sort of fit that bill, but they're not senior players by any stretch of the imagination, because they've come from the lower grades and stuff. And then the younger guys are all younger guys who've probably played more Super League games than Joe Bullock and Mitch Clark have. People like Ollie Partington. But yeah, I'm quite comfortable with this signing. I don't think he was at his best in his last year with Leeds, but I don't think Leeds were at their best as well. So it'll be nice to see what a change of scenery does for him, and hopefully Wigan can whip him into fitness and shape pretty quickly, and use him for the rest of this season with the business end coming up.
Yep. More Wigan news. So Wigan have offered 19-year-old prop Ethan Havard a new contract until the end of the 2022 campaign, with an option of a further year. Bulgaria-born Havard made his Wigan debut in July 2019 and has featured regularly in the first team this year. He joined Wigan's youth setup in 2016 and went on to win the Academy Grand Final twice. Didn't know he was born in Bulgaria. That's a little aside.
Yeah. He's too young to be called Uncle Bulgaria, though, I suppose is his nickname. But yeah, this is great for Wigan. It secures his future with the club for now, because this guy's a guy that the NRL have been looking at, and that was before his recent run of form in the side. This gives him a chance to kind of establish himself a bit more at a very good club before potentially looking at the NRL, and that might mean that if and when he arrives in the NRL, he can make an impact more of a Ryan Sutton or a Mike Cooper, or players like that who've gone there as established Super League players, and managed to kick on in the NRL, rather than the other way around, as being an untried, untested Super League player. He'll be an experienced pro by the time he potentially goes to the NRL. And I'm saying that because I think this is a player who's got everything that can succeed, especially in the modern game how it is. He can play long minutes, he can do it both ways in attack and defence. He's shown nice touches with the ball as well as driving it in, and he's shown a good work ethic. And is a player that we should be really pleased to have in Super League right now, and coming through our systems. But I just think he's class. I think he's quality, the kid.
Good.
Wakefield prop David Fafita could go. It's prop heavy, isn't it? Wakefield prop David Fafita could return against Wigan on Friday, following the clear the air talks with the club's hierarchy. The 31-year-old was stood down last month for refusing to wear a GPS tracking device for coronavirus protocols. Chris Chester said it has been resolved. He's back in training. I wasn't privy to the conversation that the CEO and chairman had with Dave and his agent, but I've been told there's been a real buy-in from Dave moving forward, and it's water under the bridge now. It's a good thing for people when these things happen when there's no fans in the stadium, isn't it? Because that's the only way it's going to be water under the bridge, is that no one's going to be there to give him shit.
Yeah, to talk about encapsulating a lot in brief sentences. Oh, there's so much to unpack. the coach isn't involved in conversations with players. For me, that's an interesting one straight away. It tells me who's, what kind of Chester's